This is the Lockpicking Lawyer. I have a really cool lock for you today. It's the EVVA DPI. Now this is different from many other DPIs. EVVA's earlier model of the DPI was a pin tumbler lock. This is a dual sidebar lock. And what that means is that on the right we have a passive sidebar like the old DPI that engages in the side bidding of the key, mainly for key control, but we also have an active element. And then on the left side is a second sidebar. This is an active sidebar. It's controlled by 5 sliders that key off the bidding on our key. They have false gates in them, and they are relatively difficult to pick. There is one pin in this lock, and that is a trap pin that we'll have to be careful about, and when we gut this, I'll be sure to show that to you. We have a tight keyway, so I'm going to be using my number 7 hook, and let's get started. My first goal is not necessarily to find the correct gate, but raise each of the sliders to a gate. This is kind of like our false set in picking any other security pin lock, and it's really our starting point. Okay, I think we're there. So let's go to the first one and release tension just a little bit and press up. And if we pop out of that gate, what that usually means is that it was not the true gate. And if we don't, that means we're probably found the correct gate. The wording's giving me a little difficulty now, but there we go. Okay, we just got a nice click. The true gates and the false gates actually sound very, very different, which is helpful. I think we just put 1 and 2 into their correct gates, but it'll be hard to, we'll see if they stay there. Be a miracle if we don't have to go back to them. Okay, 3. He's really not popping out. I'm going to leave him there for now. 4 is relatively loose. Let's try 5. Okay. 5 is set, or at least set in a different gate, and there aren't that many in each of these sliders, so if you left a false gate and went into another gate, there's a good chance that you found the right one. Okay, let's go back to the beginning, see where we are with those front 2 sliders. Okay, number 2 dropped down a little bit, and I think we got him back to where he was. Number 3 we just pushed up, and hopefully he's where he belongs. Number 4 dropped all the way down, I believe. And number 5 just opened her up. Okay, let's gut this guy, and I will show you what's inside this lock. Okay, since we have the key, I'm just going to lock him back up. Okay, we're going to need our spring clip tool. Hopefully I have the right bits on here. Okay. And let me use the key and we will pull this out. Hopefully I'll be able to hold the sidebar in place, which will hold the sliders where they belong. First thing I'm going to do is try to adopt the passive sidebar out, and I'll show that to you in just a moment. Then I'm going to release tension on the active sidebar, and I will give you a close-up of that in a minute. Now, let's see, how do these things come out? I will start dropping the sliders out one by one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me arrange these so you can see each of the gates, the false gates and the true gates. And let me see if I can also get those tiny little, I'll leave the springs in, no real purpose of taking them out. Okay, let me start by giving you a close-up of the sidebar. As you can see, each of these little fingers that engages the sliders is still intact. Then we have our passive sidebar, and that has an active element right here that if the correct key is not in, this sidebar collapses. It's just like the DPS I picked previously. And if that sidebar collapses, let me push this in place so you can see what happens. That sidebar lines up with, or I'm sorry, that collapsed section of the sidebar is right here, and that lines up with something inside of the core. Hopefully I'll be able to show that to you. Right here, that is a trap pin. And so if the correct key is not in place and you turn it to the 4 o'clock position, that core will be locked up permanently. Well, not permanently. At least until you reach in with something and find that tiny little button right here and push it back out. Not impossible, but certainly not easy. Okay, then let me give you a close-up of everything else on this lock. Okay, here are each of our sliders. That little nub that you see on the top of each of the sliders is what engages the spring. Then each slider has a true gate and a false gate. Those gates engage with these. Let me turn this over for you to be able to see it. Each of those gates engages with one of these little fingers. And once the fingers line up with the true gate, the sidebar goes in and the lock will open. And we also have our passive sidebar there. That's it for the dual sidebar EVVA DPI. If you have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, have a nice day. Thank you.